Welcome to episode 52 of Believe in TCU as part of the Believe Network. That just kind of rhymed right there.
Dude, you're like a poet.
I am a poet now. Part-time podcast host and now
Full-time poet.
full-time poet. All right. I'm Simon Trammell. I'm joined as always by Seth Dowdle. We've got a fun episode for you all today. You know, the off season continues to chug along, but we continue to have things to discuss here. We're going to be just talking about revenue sharing. That was a big topic of discussion amongst coaches at Big 12 Media Day. We're also going to be talking about some former TCU baseball players that were drafted this weekend as All-Star weekend for MLB baseball that concluded, and some of TCU players moving on to the next level. So we will be talking about that as well. But we're going to start things off with revenue sharing, kind of a new thing that's taken storm here for college football and just college sports in general. Seth, I'll kind of let you talk about it. Want to give a little bit of background of what was just recently passed for college sports in the NCAA?
Yeah, this is the new hip thing. Revenue sharing. How cool is this?
First it was NIL, now it's revenue sharing. But
Seth, we might be regressing in the marketing though of what NIL sounds much cooler than revenue sharing. Revenue sharing sounds like something your parents talk about at the dinner table, and you're like, God, get me out of here.
Revenue,
yeah. Anyway, yeah, this had been kind of in the works for a while. There had been a lawsuit that had been kind of on the books for quite some time, finally was resolved and went into effect on July 1st. The schools can now directly pay their players. Saw someone say that in the history of collegiate athletics, the two biggest things that have happened so far, probably Title IX and then potentially this. So, yeah, we'll get into kind of the nitty-gritty, but the end-all be-all is that schools can now directly pay their athletes. And as we kind of, venture away from the amateurism that is collegiate sports, and it just kind of now is going to become, especially for college football, minor league football in a lot of ways. We're not at the point where athletes are unionizing and we're going to have collective bargaining agreements, but we are definitely getting closer. And this is just one step in that direction. But yeah, big. And I think as we talk about it, what the coaches were saying about it in revenue sharing, there definitely is some split opinions about this is good, bad, just kind of nothing, and what it means for collegiate sports, particularly college football.
My goodness, I didn't even consider the collective, bargaining agreement sort of thing, how that could change it.
Can you not wait for that? Isn't that just going to be so exciting? And teams and players can sign contracts and can be free agents. It's going to be so fun. It's not.
It's not.
We could have who's going to be the Shams for college football free agency?
Ooh. That's actually kind of a good point there. We might need to find a new Shams Charania.
Arch Manning signs 1-year contract with Sacramento State.
Sacramento State. Oh, that'd be funny. Look, it's definitely changing the landscape of college sports, kind of making this, like you mentioned, sort of like minor league football, baseball, basketball, whatever, just a level down. So did you mention that basically schools are going to be capped at about $20.5 million per year? And that's distributed among all the sports, and they can kind of decide how they want to divvy it up. Now, obviously, I would assume most schools are going to put majority of that into football. But you could see that where other schools take priority in maybe a different sport where they realize they're not as good in football. Maybe they'll do something where they put towards more money into baseball or softball even. With Oklahoma, it could be a school that puts that $20.5 million into softball.
Yeah, I mean, you'll definitely see the Big East basketball schools venture more towards, uh, basketball. I think there's this is not a TCU conversation, but I think it's really interesting to see, what those traditional basketball schools will do. Duke, North Carolina, Kentucky. What do they do here, and how do they distribute the money? And I think there's going to be a real some infighting in athletic departments where there is, kind of those programs like Duke and UNC, where the basketball programs usually take precedence, but also football is still needs to be a really big deal there. So I think there could be some conversations there as well. It'll be interesting to see how those handle. But still, this does not negate NIL. NIL still existing. Now, NIL a little bit more regulated. All NIL deals from third parties have to be, kind of approved by a Deloitte clearinghouse in the interest of fairness, I assume. So there is that. So this 20.5 is kind of a soft cap, right? It is a way for maybe smaller schools to have inroads into paying some players, right? Like imagine you're like a Sun Belt football school. We'll just pull out a Texas State for now. I don't imagine that Texas State's NIL budget was very high last year. I actually would venture to guess that the combined NIL budget of all of the Sun Belt schools is probably lower than $20.5 million. So
Probably.
And that's just an assumption. That's speculation, but it's probably pretty close. And so now those schools, if they opt into this, will have $20.5 million at their disposal, but still schools like Texas and Alabama and Florida State, they still have those bukus of NIL money to deal with that would still give them the upper hand in terms of getting players.
Yeah, that is sort of where they gain the advantage. How they got to that $20.5 million, in case you didn't know, it's basically 22% of the average revenue of a Power 4 athletic department, including ticket sales and media rights distributions. It'll be recalculated every 3 years with the same formula. And in the years in between those calculations, so in between those 3 years, it'll increase by 4% from the previous year to address inflation. So it's going to continue to go up. But yeah, like you said, Seth, the NIL thing could still play very beneficial to schools like Texas and apparently Texas Tech, because they're spending.
Apparently Texas Tech, they're spending, but again, not at the levels of they're definitely spending, but not at the levels, where they're like a Texas yet, or even an A&M. So yeah, it's just going to be really interesting how schools handle this. I think for bigger program schools in the Power 4, especially those that have higher NIL budgets, this does not mean all that much right now in terms of getting players to come to your school.
Yeah, that's true. I wanted to ask you though, Seth, since Texas Tech kind of was a topic of discussion this offseason with, kind of the players they were able to get out of the portal and stuff. Do you see this as a good thing for the Big 12 as far as being able to compete with the SEC and Big 10, or do you see this as a bad thing, a bad way of business?
I mean, it can be either good or bad depending on how they schools. I mean, I think it really rides or dies with NIL still. I still everyone's on the even playing field at the 20.5, right? Everyone can decide to distribute that however much they want to. But then you add in the NIL budgets, and that's whenever everything goes crazy. If, say, TCU decides to just utilize $20.5 million to get athletes to TCU, they're going to be left in the dust by all these other programs that are utilizing the NIL to get better athletes to come to their schools. And I know that NIL is not the only reason that players go to schools, but it is a big one. I don't think Arch Manning goes to Texas if they don't bring that Lambo out at his visit.
That helped for sure.
Yeah, I know. So it's just one of those things where you still got to utilize all of the tools at your disposal. And right now, this is just an extra tool that I think other sports can utilize pretty well. given what they have, right? Um, we've seen a lot of changes with baseball. It used to be 11.7 scholarships for baseball. There's more scholarships now that you can give out to baseball on top of this too. So you have a lot more, tools at your disposal for like baseball or like a softball, if your school has that. With this kind of money, you mentioned Oklahoma. I'm interested to see how they decide to, use softball, because that's not one that you would usually see have a lot of the percentage of 20.5 million usually, but maybe there it would have a higher one. It's just, it's going to be interesting to see how schools decide to divvy up the cash, and which ones decide to pull back NIL and which ones decide to, kind of push the throttle to the fullest extent to try and maximize all the potential athletes they can get into the program.
Wanted to kind of bring things back to TCU because Sonny Dykes had pretty strong opinions about it. Part of that discussion was with Bud Clark, and obviously he's returning for a 6th season, but he's like, I want to be compensated fairly. And just to be clear, like we are, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, Seth, but I'm very much in favor of paying these athletes what they deserve. And, because for all these years they've been neglected and now they're finally getting their fair share. Now, the way that some of that business can be conducted is obviously could be controversial and some of it might be unethical, but I think the way that it should go is the right way to do it, and I think it's good that that's happening.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Pay Bud Clark.
Yes, and he did, and so that was, anyways. That's part of what I was kind of went off on a tangent there, but he was saying that he wants to get paid what he feels he deserves, and so the TCU football, they had that discussion with him, and they were able to find the right number. And so that kind of led into another thing where he was talking about how he doesn't fully believe in paying guys who haven't played a snap more than what that is actually there. And so he's like, for example, if we pay this guy from high school and that is making more money than all our secondary combined, how is that going to do for your chemistry? How is that going to do for the kid? And he's saying that his job is to put this kid in the best position possible. Well, how is he doing that if they're paying him more than guys that have played multiple seasons at TCU? And so there's a whole ethical issue there, and could mess up chemistry for some teams. And it's something I hadn't even really thought about, but it could be an issue.
It definitely can be, and I see where he's coming from. That is something that is hard to reckon with, but sometimes that's just the type of market that you're dealing with, and his job is to get the best players here.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, and I think he knows that, right? I think he's saying that he doesn't like it, but at the same time, he's going to meddle in that business because he has to.
Yeah.
Right? I've always seen like Sonny Dykes might complain, but he's not going to be like Dabo or Mike Gundy, and where they're going to complain but then not do anything. I don't know if you saw the interview that Mike Gundy did, but like this past offseason was the first offseason that Oklahoma State like actually utilized NIL to start getting players to come to Stillwater.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's just kind of a testament to Mike Gundy, is like they were kind of successful for a little while during the NIL era until last year, and were still able to do it. But anyway, and not going to be like Dabo, where like just the transfer portal is right there, and he's just like, I don't want to use it because I think it's wrong or whatever. Sonny Dykes will still do what's necessary of him, even if he doesn't like the methods that he has to do to get the job done, which is get TCU to win football games and get good players here that can do that.
And they've done a pretty good job, I mean, of getting talent to come here. Do they still have the top recruiting class in the Big 12? I don't know.
From this past year, I believe they did. I do not believe they have the top one for 26. I believe that is our good friends in Lubbock, but I will double check that real fast.
Yeah, and so they've been able to do a good job with that. But I was happy to hear that. Did you
It's
find it?
BYU.
Oh, it's BYU. Okay, for 2026.
BYU, Baylor, Texas Tech, TCU, the top four right now.
But but this year TCU is number one.
The 25 recruiting class, yes, TCU had the best recruiting class in the Big 12 by a fair margin.
And so they did a good job with that, and I'm glad that Sonny Dykes was able to address that. Say, hey, well, there is kind of an issue here where if I'm paying this guy way more than some of the other guys, there might be problems in the locker room. But I think I don't think that's going to be a TCU issue, and I'm not saying. And I brought up that story. I don't think he was saying that that's something that's going on with TCU. Like, I think if we know anything, it's that I think the vibes in the locker room on the offense, defense, the whole team in general is good. And this is a mature group and not something that you will need to worry about too much.
Yeah, it is an obstacle though that every coach in America needs to tackle, and depending on the level of the program, right, it depends on I guess the validity of the problem. I think if you
Mhm.
go to like an SEC school, like a high end SEC school, a high end recruit getting paid more than a player on the roster is not a big deal whatsoever. That is an expected measure to
Yeah.
happen. Like
Mhm.
when Quinn Ewers was at Texas and then Arch Manning came in, I don't know what the numbers were there, but I could very well have seen Arch being paid more out the gate than Quinn. I don't know if that's true or not. It might have been. There was a Lambo on the dang visit. That's all I can. That's all I see. I see a Lamborghini.
Yeah.
I automatically think we're in six figures. Um,
Probably.
uh, but like that's not even a big deal whatsoever because Quinn also is getting paid a crap ton of money
Hmm.
himself. Uh, Same with like Georgia, right? You bring in a really good D lineman, and he's getting paid a lot of money. Well, so is all the rest of them. That's not necessarily the case at TCU, where you might have some lower end 3-star that's starting on the defensive line, maybe getting paid not as much as the 4-star freshman that's coming in, but he's not playing because he's not ready yet.
Yeah. It definitely varies by school because yeah, those top SEC schools, they're getting the best high school football players in the country. So it totally makes sense. Another thing that was kind of mentioned, and we'll just talk about this briefly, is that, and I think Sonny brought this up. I'm not entirely sure. It um, might have been a different coach at Big 12 Media Days, but I think teams they might bend the rules with like front loading contracts and like kind of making it so where that they can kind of bend the rules with that. Do you think that could be a possibility with some of these schools?
I love a good front or back loaded contract.
Yeah.
Give it to me. I love it. I mean, yeah, sure. I haven't looked too much into that, but I definitely think that how the money is distributed year to year uh, is definitely a big time thing. And that just gets to the whole thing of eventually when we get to actually players signing contracts, like actual contracts with collective bargaining agreements, and we have to like do that whole thing. Are we going to get players striking and lockouts? I just don't even want to think about that for college football down the line. Uh, it's going to be a whole mess that I'm not too interested in. And frankly, here's the deal. Here's my thing. I am all in favor of. I think two things can be true at once. I'm all in favor of these athletes being compensated, and at the same time, I'm sad that the amateurism of college football is going away.
Absolutely. I think a lot of fans share that opinion. It's changed. It started with conference realignment and it's gone to this.
The days of a player going to say TCU because he's ride or die Horned Frogs his whole life and he wants to be a Horned Frog forever, playing there all 4 years and just doing it because he loves TCU are kind of gone.
It is.
I
Players
mean, we
at the transfer portal and
Yeah. We saw Haas Haney, who was kind of the archetype of that, come in last year, and then he's out the door the second he's kind of realizes that he might not play. Which is I'm not saying that he made a wrong decision, but like I don't think that same decision is made by a player 25 years ago.
It's just the mindset and the attitude of, I guess, our generation. These guys are a few years younger, that are coming into college, obviously, but it's just kind of the attitude of the generation that's changed a little bit, and players kind of understand more of what their worth is, and they want to put themselves in the best opportunity, because part of it is, I think, collegiate sports and getting to that next level has never been more competitive than it is right now. You take baseball, for example. If you have to throw a certain velocity in order for you to be able to get looked at by a D1 or D2 school, it's like if you don't throw 87, 88 miles per hour, you're not going to get looked at by a D2 or, so it's just competition is so high that they don't want to wait around to, find that opportunity. They're going to take advantage of it and go get it, or they realize that they're not going to make it to the next level. So they want to get paid, and they want to get paid the right amount. So I think that's part of what's playing a factor here.
Yeah, it's new. It's all new stuff that we're still kind of dealing with. A lot has been thrown at collegiate athletics over the past half decade. We had all the COVID super seniors that are still being phased out. We still have not gotten. I don't know. I want to say gotten rid of all of them, because there's several on TCU that are going to be pretty big factors. Bud Clark, one of them. But we're still phasing those players out. And then NIL coming in around the exact same time, and now this. A lot has changed with collegiate athletics and conference realignment in that as well. I do think that has kind of been a shock to the system for a lot of people, and it's turned some people off. It's made some people happy about what collegiate athletics are. For me, right in the middle of that for a lot of this, I still love college football. Some of the ways that it's going, I don't particularly enjoy all that much, but at the end of the day, seeing TCU run onto the field and play a football game every Saturday of the fall is still a good time, and I think that is going to be the case for as long as college football and collegiate athletics are a thing. That at the end of the day, the players put on the uniform, they go on the field, and they play. That is kind of, what we're all there for anyway. We're not here for all of this behind the scenes crap that at the end is frankly annoying in a lot of aspects, but we have to deal with because we love it.
We do. Look, that was a great back and forth there. I really enjoyed talking about revenue sharing with you there, Seth. I think that was a good conversation.
Do you think that we can get revenue sharing from some school?
I'll have to reach out.
Do you think podcasters are going to be in the TCU budget?
Could be in the future. Could be right now. I'll let you know. I'll go reach out.
Email Mike Buddy.
Yes, I met Mike Buddy at Big 12 Media Day. Nice guy. We're gonna start off on a heater. Hey, Mike. Pleasure to meet you. Hey, so can we get part of that revenue sharing? I'm not affiliated with the football team. I'm just a podcaster.
Or with the university whatsoever. I want to make that clear.
Oh, yeah. I graduated. Yeah. I graduated. I'm not affiliated with TCU.
No, we're just regular people.
We are just regular people now. We're not cool anymore. Okay. Anyways, let's move on. We're gonna talk about the MLB Draft, which happened over the weekend, with like a bajillion rounds now. I don't even know how many there are.
20. Not as many as there used to be.
Yeah.
They used to, fun fact, they used to just go until all the teams said that they were done picking.
Really?
So back in the day, theoretically, it could have gone on forever.
It could have gone on for 6 months.
I'm going to pull up a random MLB draft, and I'm going to tell you how long it went. We're going to go to the 1911 MLB draft. They didn't have a draft in 1911. Never mind. Wait, no, they did. Sorry. Okay, continue. I'll use this fun facts in a second. But TCU, we're playing baseball. TCU.
Yes, and they will be playing. These guys will be playing baseball in professionally now, and it'll be. We're gonna go through the 4 guys that were drafted. It's not as many players as years past. 2023, we saw a lot of guys. We saw Braden Taylor obviously go in the first round to Tampa Bay. Then last year, Peyton Tully was the first frog off the board, round 2, heading to Boston. This year, there wasn't as many frogs, and it's not because it was mainly due to the fact that this team is young, and a lot of guys either transferred out or staying. There wasn't a lot of guys that kind of put their names in the hat to move on to the next level. But Seth, did you find that?
Yeah, the first draft was in 1965, and there were 813 players selected.
Oh my goodness, that's
and
crazy.
There were only 20 teams.
Wow, that's wild. Interesting. Well, that has changed. Let's get into things though. The first player that was taken from TCU didn't stay. It wasn't until round 5, but it was Ben Abelt, who obviously did not play last season for TCU because he had a little injury that kept him out. But he's staying home, headed to the Texas Rangers. Seth and I are both Rangers fans, so this was particularly interesting to us on that front. The fact that the Rangers were able to select Ben Abelt. Personally, a little bit biased. I love the pick, even though he is coming off that injury. But when he was healthy, Frog fans all know how dominant of a pitcher Ben Abelt was for TCU. And he was probably going to be a first or second round pick if he had stayed healthy this season. So I'm happy with the value there to get him round 5, pick 146. And you hope that he can kind of return to form.
Yeah, I mean, TJ, Tommy John, anything to be scoffed at, but everyone gets Tommy John. I'm not even joking. Literally everybody gets Tommy John. That's what it feels like. So it's going to happen at some point. Might as well do it now, I guess. Get it over with.
That's one way of looking at it, yeah.
Get it over with. Yeah, it's definitely, kind of a market inefficiency that the Rangers were trying to exploit, which was draft a lot of injured players. And Ben Abelt was one of them. Definitely interested to see how that happens if he signs. First of all, I imagine that he probably will, because he can come back if he wants to for another year. But there's no guarantee that he gets drafted even this high, coming off a year where he had Tommy John. I'm interested to see how the Rangers approach his, first couple times in the minors. I imagine he does not pitch the rest of this season.
Probably not. It'd be wise to shut him down. But yeah, hopefully he can progress well through the minor leagues. He's just got that funky arm angle, an elevated fastball around 96, 97. Was obviously so good out of the bullpen, and even got a couple starts for TCU, and he was terrific as well. So we're really excited for Ben Abelt. Wish him nothing but the best, and hopefully we can see him in a Ranger uniform at some point over the next few seasons. A few other players drafted this weekend. Anthony Silva went round 14 to the Cleveland Guardians. He can return, I believe, if he wants to. But
yeah,
he was selected in the 14th round. Cademan Parker was the first pick of the 15th round, drafted to the Chicago White Sox. He should definitely come back after getting picked. I'm just kidding.
He's going to sign.
The White Sox. Yeah, he will. And then Braden Sloan, round 17 to the Baltimore Orioles. just a quick thought there with Sloan getting picked round 17. Like, it is pretty shocking. No offense to Caden Parker. He's a good pitcher. But after the start that Braden Sloan had, there would have been, I thought there would have been no shot that he would have been the last Horned Frog off the board.
Yeah. I do think there's some intangible things about Parker that teams probably like a little bit more. I think his ability to throw harder is one of them.
Yeah. That's part of it. But Cademan, when he was on, he had a really good start at Globe Life against Michigan, I believe. He definitely has got great stuff. I'm not trying to be, hating on Cademan Parker or anything. It would have surprised me a few months ago if that was the case, but he definitely has good stuff, and I think he just got a little bit unlucky a few times for TCU this season. So happy for all of those guys. Do you have any thoughts about Silva and Parker and Sloan getting drafted?
No, I mean, there's a world where only like one of them or like a couple of them sign and the rest come back. This was definitely a younger TCU team. I know it was kind of weird. Like I felt like we were like, look at all this veteran talent, but at the same time, it's so young that there's a world where everyone decides to come back and try it again. But I mean, like if you get this opportunity, sometimes it's a once in a lifetime sort of thing. And you got to take it. So, best of luck to all of them if they decide to go professional, and also best of luck if they decide to come back and give it one more go in Fort Worth, because we definitely love to see them.
We would love for them to come back. I think I'm not banking on any of them. That's part of my thought process. If you get drafted, I'm not expecting you to come back. I would love if that was the case, but we'll see.
Very rarely do college players that have eligibility left pass up on it. It's the high schoolers that would pass up on it usually.
Yeah, it's usually the high schoolers, which TCU got really lucky with this case. Seth, you were texting me about a guy. I cannot remember his name for some reason.
I believe it's Noah Franco's. He has the same last name as Noah Franco. I have no idea if he's related or not.
Yeah, one of the top prospects withdrawing from the draft and returning to TCU. That is always a humongous bonus if you can get
Lucas Franco, shortstop.
Yes. A top prospect coming back to TCU or withdrawing and coming to TCU. That's obviously huge.
This guy looks like Noah Franco. There's no way this guy isn't Noah Franco's brother. No way, right? We'll have no way of knowing. I can't. I need Ancestry.com ASAP.
Another thing I did want to mention though is we talked about the fact that there wasn't that many players this year. I think next year is something where we could be looking at somebody like Chase Brunson, who I believe I saw a mock draft that he could be a first round pick next year, maybe second round. Sawyer Stroh-Snyder, obviously, if he builds off his rookie campaign, which I'm sure he will, he'll get drafted early, and maybe even Tommy Lepore. So it just kind of shows that the Horned Frogs are going to be really good next season, and some of those guys are going to reap the benefits of that and get picked early in the draft next season.
I'd even go as far as say that the expectations for TCU baseball next season are pretty high, and I think a regional host should be what is expected, given what we know is coming back and potentially what is even coming in.
Exactly. And to me, super regional appearance at like the worst, to be honest. Like I think a trip to Omaha could be very possible, but it's a long ways away. But thinking about next season's team does get me really excited for frog ball next year.
We are, but we got hey, listen, we got soccer starting before even anything started.
We've got TCU soccer. Ian is our soccer expert, but he's off in Maryland right now, so he's doing baseball. So
yes, we got a lot of stuff before baseball for TCU starts up again. A lot of football. Hey, how much? I think how much revenue sharing you think we talking about in season?
In season?
Yeah, you think we're going to be talking TCU Baylor recap, and I'm going to pull and we're going to say, hey, I think revenue sharing is the reason TCU lost this game or won this game.
Let's just say the conversations off season to when the season actually starts are vastly different. But look,
not to bring it back to revenue sharing, but I do think that is a good point in about like once the players get on the field, like we're not going to be talking about how much money they're making.
We're not going to be talking about how teams are bending the rules. Hey, that seems fishy to me. He threw for 300 yards. Can we check to see how much money he's making?
Speaking of, this is a totally random topic that I wanted to throw by you. I don't know if we can have a long conversation, but I don't know if you saw what Sonny Dykes said about the Michigan game and then what Connor Stallions had to say about it as well.
I didn't. No, actually,
okay.
I didn't see that.
Well, Sonny, and this, I had known this. I think we'd all known this for a while. There had been reporting that Sonny Dykes said that they had caught whiff of a potential sign stealing operation. So they changed their signals prior to the Michigan game.
Yeah.
And it helped. They won the game. And Connor Stallions, I'm not going to read. I didn't read the whole long thread. It was one of those things where like, I'm so happy for you, or I'm so sorry for you, bro, but I'm not reading that. It was very long. And he essentially said, "Nuh-uh, we still had your signs. We just sucked that day."
What? You just sucked that day.
It's like, I don't know if this is a win for you either way here, buddy.
It's not. That's weird. That's a weird angle to take. But cry about it. I don't know. I mean,
regardless of here's the thing, it does not matter. Regardless of if you had the signs or not, you gave up over 50 points. And isn't that the whole point of the sign stealing operation, is to stop offenses?
Yeah, exactly. You didn't stop Quentin Johnston from running 80 yards on a crosser to the house. So didn't help. If it didn't help you on a simple concept like that, then
Amari DeMarcado breaks contain. There's like no safeties in the back to stop the run play that's about to happen.
Yeah. Hey, that's cry about it, Michigan. Even though they won the national championship the next year, but that doesn't matter. We're talking about that season.
We was TCU in that national championship? No,
they
were in the other one.
Yeah, we were in the wrong one. We just happened to be in the national championship where Georgia had like an NFL team against us, but it's okay.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. That's a good point to leave off here for this episode. It was a fun one, Seth. Really enjoyed it. Talking about revenue sharing, and players moving on to the MLB draft. Just getting closer to the TCU athletics, getting underway with soccer, of course, in about a month, and then football not too long after that. Thank you all for tuning into this episode of Believe in TCU. You can follow us on Instagram, subscribe to us on YouTube, or listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, all at Believe in TCU. So for Seth Dowdle, I'm Zion Trammell. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time. And as always, go Frogs.